Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Portsmouth Coffee Talks Evening Edition show. I'm James Slim Overton, and I'm here with co-host Leah Drake Stitt and Thomas, the Colonel Chapman. Hello, co-host. How you doing this evening?
All
Wonderful.
right
How
now.
are you?
Yes.
All right. Another exciting Thursday evening here, and we finally got to spring weather. Finally.
Yes,
So
we
Yes.
uh,
have.
now, pretty soon we'll be complaining about the heat, but that's okay. I'd rather complain about the heat than the cold. But
Yes.
anyway, welcome everybody. And before we get started, I want to remind you, please, if you're watching on Facebook or our YouTube channel, remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share this show tonight. You're going to have a special show. We have a special guest. And for this special guest, he's even more special to one of our co-hosts. So we're going to let Leah introduce him this evening. Leah?
Wonderful. Wonderful. And I'm first trying to see why it's not showing on my page. I just shared it from your page. And for some reason, it's not showing on my, now it's on my Facebook page. Thank you
Okay.
so very
Just a
much.
little
Okay.
delay.
All right. I'm excited. I'm excited to have my son in love here on our show today, and none other than Derrick D.C.D. Powell. Derrick Powell is the global head of basketball at Quality Control Sports. He is a 20 plus year veteran in the business of professional basketball. He's highly regarded and very well respected among both his peers, his clients, and most of all, his family. Through his sincerity and authenticity, Derrick has created a reputation as a trustworthy and respected relationship builder throughout the professional basketball circle. His network reaches everyone in the game, from the parents of players to the college coaches and trainers. Derrick also has relationships with all 30 general managers and most of the coaches running the elite athletes of the NBA. Derrick has worked with some of the biggest names in basketball while representing multiple first round and second round NBA draft picks throughout his career. From 2014 to 2019, Derrick averaged at least one draft pick per NBA draft. Derrick has negotiated over $250 million in player contracts, as well as several shoe deals for the NBA clients, including one of the largest shoe deals for rookie that Nike had done in over 10 years at that time. Derrick's philosophy in representing players is to do what you're supposed to do for the right reasons, and success will follow you. Derrick he played basketball and ran track at the great IC Norcom High School.
Woof, woof.
But Derrick is also a graduate of the four-year Letterman in basketball at one of the most prestigious HBCUs in the country, Hampton University. That's his bio. My side note is this: I have watched Derrick from the time that he decided that he was going to become an NBA agent. And we knew that it was going to be an uphill battle all the way for him. But Derrick is one who has taught us that you turn your wounds into wisdom, and that every adversity, every heartache, every failure carries with it a seed of an equal or greater benefit. Derrick has taught me that we don't develop courage by being happy every day. We develop it by surviving difficult times and challenging adversity. Derrick, I thank you for being a blessing in my life and in my family's life, treating my daughter and my grandkids better than I could ever want anyone to treat them. I love you, and welcome to Portsmouth Coffee Talk.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Mom. Appreciate it. Hey, Slim, Colonel, how you guys doing?
All
Hey,
right
we're
now.
doing great. And coming from a fellow Greyhound basketball player, welcome.
Thank you.
And the Colonel is also a graduate of Hampton University as well as Norfolk State. And all I can say is go VUU. But anyway, Colonel, you want to start the conversation with our special guest today, this
Oh,
evening?
yeah, I might as well. I was before we started this show, we were talking about football teams, and so I just had to add in that
Get it in there. Get it in there,
you got to
Colonel.
get it in there. That somebody on this show is a foreigner because we have two Cowboy fans, and in between us is this what's that team up there in Washington? I can't even think of the last name, but they moved them somewhere. But they got a new quarterback. Daniels is gonna blow his knee out in the third game. But
No.
that's it. So
Tried to come to Virginia, but we said no.
yes, yes,
Glad about that too.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Senator Lucas.
yes. But what I'll ask the first question is of the agents out there in professional sports, what is the percentage of them or African Americans that look like you that are out there?
First of all, before I answer that question, Colonel, I want to say thank you to all three of you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it and the opportunity to get the information out there that can probably help someone else behind me. I just appreciate the opportunity. As far as numbers, there are more African American agents now than before. We're actually moving forward as a majority right now, but there's still a high level of Caucasian agents that are still doing work in the business.
Mm-hmm. So how would I get into the business, or a young person get into the business, coming out, say, college, or not really having a relationship with say, a son or a daughter out there in professional sports? How do you get to start in it?
Well, the way let me go back. The direction I took to get into the business, 90% of the agents would not be willing to do it that way. Most of the agents get in because they have a family member or a friend that's already an agent that gives them an opportunity to learn and grow within the company. But most companies, they're not going to hire a young agent if the agent doesn't already have players and experience. So
Right.
It's one of those things where they say, okay, cool, you don't have experience, but they're not going to give you an opportunity to gain experience. So what I did coming in, my wife's cousin is a guy by the name of Bryant Stiff. I talked to Bryant before I got in, and he introduced me to his agent, a guy by the name of Jeff Alston, who was the head of Octagon, which is one of the biggest companies out there still today. Represents Steph Curry and a few other guys. So I met with Jeff, we talked, and what Jeff said to me was, listen, I will bring you on. If you bring me players, I'll give you a percentage of the player. Well, I had to explain to Jeff that I'm educated. I have my MBA registration. I am a licensed agent, and I'm not a runner. So at the end of the day, I have no desire to come into your company just to be around, to be used for the most part, because he wasn't giving me a real opportunity. So what I did was I had some money saved. I jumped out on my own and I gambled on me. And with the support of my wife and my family, understanding the ups and downs of the business and just trying to become familiar with it, there was a lot of strain on everyone around. But I was blessed in the whole situation as well to gain a player my first year out. So I tell people all the time, the hardest thing about my business is getting a player. You can know the collective bargaining agreement, you can know coaches, you can know everyone, but without the player, the car doesn't move. It's like having a brand new Cadillac with no engine in it. It can sit there all day, but without the player being the engine, it'll never move forward.
Right.
So to answer your question clearly, it's a struggle. It's hard, but I don't want to deter anyone from trying it if they feel it in their heart. It can't be anything you're doing for the money, because most agents don't make money. Think about it like this. Every year there's only 60 players. There's over 600 agents in the business. And the blessing that I have, I'm 64. I'm ranked 64 out of over 600 agents. So I've been blessed to get some good level guys, but what they appreciate more is my honesty, my hard work, and just who I am as a person. It doesn't work for everybody, but it's worked for me, and God has blessed me in this situation.
Well, you know what? And now that you said that, and how you treat people and getting that connection. And I carry what we call in recruiting command, carrying the bag when I was out there, carrying the bag, trying to recruit. And I did that 3 years when I was in Nashville.
Okay.
And I led the nation in healthcare recruiting for nurses at that time, 2 out of the 3 years I was there. And on the third year, the only reason I didn't win that one is because I left to go to graduate school.
Okay.
But I think back at this time, I would talk to everybody. And I've got recruits that I recruited way back then. They spent 30 years in the service and retired as colonels. But I also talked to their family, the grandmas and the grandpas, and I got that buy-in from them that say, when I talk to you and when you come into my family as in the Army Nurse Corps or whatever, I got you for life. And I still keep up with just about all my recruits that I did out, and here it is 40 years since I started. And so that's what you do. You build that, yeah.
And that's the genuine
that referral
nature.
business.
But that's the genuine nature. I learned something. Well, I've always been a grinder my whole life. My mother worked 3 jobs, raising 3 kids in the projects. And I've only known the grind aspect of it, right? So a lady told me, my wife can attest to this. My mother-in-law can tell you this. I was working 2 jobs a lot. I was actually selling timeshares early in my marriage part-time.
Yes.
And a lady told me, she was like, no, you can know all this stuff about the timeshare you want to know, but no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So I've transferred that over into my business now. It's like, I tell my guys, I don't want to eat off you. I want to eat with you. So at the end of the day, I'm going to help you make money, which allows me to make money. But if all this goes away, the relationship is what we have.
Right.
So I've been blessed with that, man.
And I can truly say, in watching Derrick maneuver his way through this business, he has really established great relationships with the parents, with the players, with the coaches. And the one thing about Derrick that really amazed me is that he will have players who will pledge to come with him. And then at that nth hour, they go to someone else. But Derrick continues to go to those players, to talk to those players, to mentor those players. And I don't think that there are many people out there who would continue working with someone who promised to come with you, and then at that final hour decide that they're going with someone else. And I've just seen him do this, Derrick. I don't know, and you're just living your philosophy on a daily basis.
And a lot of people think I'm crazy about it because at the end of the day, it's not about the money. Like I always say, do what you're supposed to do for the right reasons and the money will follow you. That's a pure fact. So now I've taken all this time to build a relationship with you. You decide not to come with me initially. Cool. I'm always going to be here as a resource. I will help you any way that I can. But the minute that you get upset with the agent that you have, because you will, because most of these guys get with you on the false pretenses, it'll be easier for you to make the transition to come and sign with me. So I try not to be sour grapes. And understand when I say this, it's very difficult being on that roller coaster, because the worst part about my business is the fact that the disappointment is there, right? But the pleasure about my business is the work that you do that the guys really appreciate. I have a client right now that plays with Cleveland Cavaliers. I made him $100 million 3 years ago, and he is so appreciative of the work that I do for him. That makes up for all the disappointment for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the business.
Well, you're talking about business. I have a philosophy also that I always tell, especially young folks, and when I was out there, and actually just not even when I was in recruiting, but throughout my military career, especially as I rose up in the ranks. I always told them, I care more about you as a person and your family than I do with this military thing. Because one, when it's time to leave, and you will leave, and everybody do leave, that and you have to take off the uniform. It's either you ETS, meaning you get out at the end of your contract, you retire, and they send you a certificate, or the undertaker takes the uniform off. But it's going to come off. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, who do you want standing beside you on the podium? Do you want to be out there by yourself, or do you want your family there? And I want you to be with your family and to hold those values with that, because that gives you the strength to persevere. And that was always been my philosophy.
It's the life.
It's the life, yes.
Gee, I like to, Leah said something about how you work with the parents as well. And I think that's very important because when these young guys are coming out of college, especially now when they can do a one and done, they're coming out and they're very young adults, and they need that guidance. And it's good to also have that family element in there. So I applaud you for including the families in there, because some of those guys come out and think they know it all, or they think they're grown, all the way grown, but they still need that family foundation, even going into the pros. So thank you for including the parents in that. And I want to ask this before I forget it. As we look at the girls basketball in the last couple of years, how it's growing in popularity, especially in the college. And when you talk about the WNBA, these girls now are going to bring those fans with them into the WNBA, which might create more money for those players. Will it be opportunities? Is it opportunities, and it's probably good for agents to get in there on the ground while the WNBA is growing, especially, because it's going to blow up, especially with these girls. One thing about the girls' game in college, they can't do a one and done. They have to play at least 3 years, I believe. So it gives the fans an opportunity to know who they are. So they bring all those fans with them. So how would the opportunities be for agents like yourself to represent some of those, or can you also represent players out of the WNBA? I know that's a lot of questions, but
Well, no. I mean, that's a good question. Actually, I think you have to have a WNBA license.
okay.
Now, will it be? Is it hard for me to get one? No. But and this is where it's strange for me, because, and there's no knock on the females. I love watching WNBA. And like, for instance, this year is the first year I've watched this much female basketball. It was been a great past 2 or 3 years for female basketball. But I have a young lady that works for me who is WNBA certified. Excuse me. So she will be able to handle the female basketball players as I move forward. Now, the reason I don't think I will get WNBA certified, because everything that I do, I have to have a passion for. And I've let a lot of things go past me in the past because I don't have a genuine passion for it. And I don't want to cheat myself, right? So I'm not going to do something that I'm not all in on. And the WNBA is something that I would not be all in on. As much as I would like to watch it, I don't have a true interest in doing business fully.
Yeah, and I brought that up because we have a lot of female students coming out, female basketball players. Hopefully, have a lot of female basketball players coming out, and they don't always make the WNBA, or the guys don't always make the NBA. But it's the opportunities, and I think it's good for whoever's watching to see a face like yours and know that there are opportunities in that field for all. And a lot of the players that don't make it just want to be around the
Yeah.
sport. And this is a good opportunity for them to be around the sport as agents or be somebody like Tony Brothers, who is a NFL referee for years. So the opportunities are there. But
and that's funny you mentioned Tony. Tony is a good friend. Every time I see Tony, like at a game, I'll walk past and I'll say, P-Town. And he'll turn around. He always got something smart to say. Always. He's hilarious, but he's a great dude. I love Tony.
But he's serious on that court, though.
Oh, no. They're not playing with him now. He's not. He ain't going to play with him. He done told me to sit my butt down. I'm just walking to my seat. So he's on it. Good dude, though. Real good dude.
Go ahead, Leah. I didn't mean to cut across.
Okay, no, that's okay, honey. Derrick, many young folks who are coming out and they think they're NBA ready. They may have skills, they may have talents, but those who don't make the NBA, there are options for them. Can you talk about the options other than the NBA that's there for those players who are just not quite good enough for the NBA? I just have not made. I shouldn't say not good enough, but they have their talents does not meet the talents of those individuals playing in the NBA. What options are there for those individuals?
Well, there's the G League. The G League is an expansion team. Well, not expansion, but it's a minor league team or circuit for NBA players. Now, that's also very competitive, right? And what I try to do with all of my guys, all the guys I recruit, all the guys I just want to help. I don't want to sign and represent all the guys. I want to help some of them. You know what I mean? Guys that need the help. They all look like us. Mm-hmm. So now, whether I represent you or not, I want to help you make good decisions because some of you think you have the skill set, but these guys that are in the NBA, their skill level is way higher than you can imagine. What it looks like on TV is not it. It's like 7 times better than what we see on TV, at least. So now the guys that aren't at that level, they can play in the G League. If they don't want to play in the G League or their level isn't as high as a G League level, they can go to Europe. And Europe have several levels in Europe. You go to Germany, you have second division, first division. Some countries have third divisions. But just to have the opportunity to continue to play, if you're realistic about where you stand and you have an agent that's going to be honest with you about the work that it's going to take to get to that point, you can continue to play. Not going to get rich, but heck, you're going to play whether you working at the post office every day or not. You will be playing anyway. So why not play and make you a little bit of money and have some fun? I have a kid on my roster that I've been representing for the past few years named Blake Francis. Blake Francis, his dad works for the NFLPA. From Hampton, lives in Northern Virginia now. Went to Virginia Union. Great guy by the name of Carl Francis. Blake was a really good ball player at University of Richmond. Really good, but he's like 5'11". Shoots the cover off the ball. But he's small.
5'11",
so,
yeah.
Yeah, so coming out of school, I got him in the G League circuit. He played G League for 2 years. Made the team, but wasn't really getting a whole lot of minutes. Play here and there, but not really given an opportunity. So now Blake has gone over to Germany and has done a phenomenal job in Germany. And he's happy as all get out. But it took him a second. He wanted to try his hand. Mm-hmm. So I didn't make any money off Blake trying his hand. But I work for you. You never work for me.
Right.
Now he's in Germany, man, and I'm loving his progress and his process. His process has been hard, but his progress has been great. So to see that side of the story, I'm super duper happy about it. And what makes me feel so much gratitude for him And it's minimal to a lot of people, but I was invited, me and my wife were invited to his wedding this year. So if someone invites you to their wedding, that's an intimate situation. But despite his struggle of wanting to be an NBA guy, me giving him an opportunity to be in that arena and him realizing, DP, I'm going overseas. I got to go play. Yeah. That's gratifying to me.
So saying that, and then going over in Europe to play or anywhere over in Europe, there's a difference in the salary and everything. But do you give them counseling them how to save and invest their dollars so when they do come back or when they do blow out a knee and cannot play or their game deteriorates when they do get old and all games deteriorate after a time, that they have something to come back, they have a nest egg?
Yes, and I always see, the funny thing is a lot of guys do not want to talk about their finances.
Yeah.
They don't. To their agent, they don't want to talk about it, but I tell them all, if you're over there making $150,000, you should literally come home with $120,000.
Yeah.
Because your apartment is free, your car is free, food is going to be minimal over there. You don't have a whole lot of places to go because you're playing all year. Stack the rest of the money.
Yeah.
And that's all I tell them. I don't ask them where to spend the money. I don't ask them. I just try to remind them periodically, hey, don't forget to stack your bread.
Yeah.
But it's you know, it's a sticky conversation because nobody wants you in their business. But at the same time, I've even told my clients about women.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing from nothing, but excuse me, mama, wear a condom.
Mm-hmm.
You got bigger fish to fry. It ain't the time for a baby. I say that to my clients, and I've had parents thank me because it's a conversation that's not coming from mom and dad. And me understanding by having kids that if I say something to my kids and their godfather or someone says something 10 minutes later and they listen, the exact same thing I said, I get it. They don't want to hear from me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just that I would rather do good business and long business than to do quick money making businesses. I hate it.
Yeah.
You know,
Derrick, let me go back to the time when it used to be high school players could go in directly into the NBA, and they eventually stopped that in the best interest of the students, even the student athlete, even though there are some players out there that are, probably ready for it. But now in college, you have the one and done, and a lot of kids go to college. That's part of their plan to play 1 year and go.
Mm-hmm.
And which education is very important too. And I understand you think with the NIA deals now that more of the guys will stay in school at least, to get their degrees before they come out. I know they risk, and there used to be something called hardship where, they would come out because, they had to take care of the families or something like that, or with some circumstances that they needed to go and make some money. But let me ask this: what do you know what the percentage is of those guys that come out and do 1 year in college and go to the NBA? How many of them are really successful at that?
I don't know the percentage, but it's not super high. So now you even being out of school 1 year, you don't have to go to college. You can go to Europe and play 1 year. You just have to be 1 year removed from high school. So now a lot of guys are taking the European route. They're going to Australia to play for 1 year and then coming back to get into the NBA. But when you look at the success rate, it's very low success rate, but the guys that are at that level, they know they're at that level, meaning LeBron. You knew LeBron was at that level coming in. You knew Kobe Bryant was at that level coming in. These guys that are playing at a very, very high level, now the mistake that's happening now is we have some guys that are coming out of school after 1 year and they're being tricked, meaning two-way contracts in the NBA now, which means
Mhm.
some games in the G League, some games on the big stage.
Yep.
But it's not a guaranteed situation, so they can cut you at any time. They had a kid come out a couple of years ago named Trevor Keels out of Duke. He had 3 years of eligibility left. Came out, he was convinced to come out, didn't get drafted, was on a two-way, or maybe did get drafted. But anyway, he was on a two-way contract. Played 1 year on a two-way contract. Boom, that's it. Out the league. Now you're looking at a kid that's either going to play G League for a very long time or is going to go to Europe and play, trying to get back in the NBA, which is very, very hard, which I don't personally think is going to happen. Doesn't have a degree, doesn't have a bunch of skill outside of basketball, and it just puts our kids in a bad situation.
Mhm.
But I think it comes a lot of times from agents not being honest with the player. You got to give them every scenario, and you got to give them sound advice so they won't make a bad decision.
Yeah.
Because on the flip side of that, with the NIL stuff, you have some guys that can come out. They know it's going to be a hell of a struggle. So what they do is they get to school to give them an NIL situation from the collective, which will pay them like $600,000 to stay in school. That's not including their scholarship.
Yep.
It's just money in their pockets. So now if my skill level isn't that high, I take the $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 to stay in school because I'm making money for the school. So I'll take this money to try and get better and see what my skill level is going to be like in another year or two. It's all starting to be a business now, and it's a nasty business because the kids are going to lose some, the coaches are going to lose some. You have college coaches telling kids now to get into the portal because I'm bringing in a junior college kid to take your place, and you're not going to play much here. So then the kid has to get in the portal and hope that another team, another school likes them to pick them up to give them some money and give them a chance to play. It's almost like the OK Corral. It's nasty. Nasty.
Yeah, you have to be careful of what people tell you, because I can remember me going from Norcom and trying to play at Virginia Union, and there's no way you can go, excuse me, from the bench to college ball. But I did play. I did play 1 year freshman ball at Virginia Union when they had a team. But it was. I was in a world. I was in a league of giants, and I'm 6'5" playing center. You know, and the guards were my height. So.
Yeah.
So I said that to say, you know, sometimes kids, you know, and you mentioned that they're, you know, the exceptional ones know they're going to make the NBA because the NBA has them high on their roster. But you have some that people will tell them, you know, hey, you good enough, you know, just go on out. Why spend 4 years in college? But that 4 years is setting up a foundation as far as education for many of those students. And a lot of those guys don't go back. You know, once they go in the league, some of them do go back and get their degrees, but a lot of them don't, and they're one injury away from being out there with no degree and no real future.
And there's no help out here, right? We all know out here in this real world, nobody cares who your mom is, who your dad is. The world doesn't care about that. So
can you make money for me?
What can you do for me?
Right.
Yep. Bobby Dandridge was my assistant coach at Hampton, and he always used to say, "What have you done for me lately?"
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I hated it. I hated it when he said it, but it's a true statement.
It's a true statement,
especially coming from him.
Yes.
But Derrick, you know, not long ago there was a book written called "The $1 Million Slaves."
Yes.
How far are we removed from the $1 Million Slaves? Or are we still on that journey as $1 Million Slaves?
Well, I tell you what, it's not $1 million slave anymore. It's more like $50 million slave. Still in it. Still in it. These guys, when you start doing things for money, and that's what these young guys are seeing, it's like you're throwing a lot of money at these young guys. And no one is taking the time, just 2 seconds, to see what's on the other side of that. There's no such thing as free money. I don't care how much they're going to cut you. You're going to do something for that money. You're going to dance for it. You're going to kick ball for it. You're going to do something for the money. So these kids are just being paid off to come in the league and play, but they're not thinking of what's on the other side of it. I lost clients to that. And I've told clients, don't take the money from someone else. You're 6 months, 4 months away from being a millionaire yourself.
Yep.
You don't want to owe somebody if you don't have to. But they just see the glitz and glamour right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes away fast.
Yes.
If you ever did there have been several situations. Prime example, it's a kid named Killian Hayes, who was the number 7 pick of the draft 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So between 3 and 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's out of the league right now. He's out. He's home working out while the season is still going. It doesn't last if you're not understanding that there's always somebody behind you trying to take your job. And if you're not good enough, it's going to show. Mm-hmm. So there's no need of rushing your process. Just make sure that you're well equipped once you get in. I mean, It's not about being drafted as much as it's about having a career. They're two different things. There are a lot of guys that were drafted that don't have a career. So think about your career. Think about having a career. I've been doing this now 25 years. That's my career. And I've been on a hell of a roller coaster ride.
Hell yes.
Roller coaster ride better than any roller coaster you guys can even imagine. I've had some dips when I wanted to cry, and I've had some highs when I wanted to just yell out to the mountains. But the roller coaster is real. And the kids go through the same situation, but they don't have honest people to tell them what it is. This is what it really is. Everybody wants to make money off of them. Man, forget that.
And Derrick, what about the attitude? You got some players who come out who are excellent ball players, but their attitudes are not great. And how does that impact upon their abilities to remain with teams? And how do the teams treat these individuals?
They're out the door. Their time is short. There's a kid, Kevin Johnson. I forget, the name slips me right now. The kid was a high draft pick. Went to Cleveland, left Cleveland, went to Houston, got in trouble hitting his girlfriend or whatever, but that was not the first situation. The kid's overseas playing right now. And it has nothing to do with his ability. His ability is an NBA player. He can play. But they're not putting up with that.
Yeah.
If you're now LeBron, they'll put up with it a little longer. Everybody talked about AI. They put up with Allen stuff a little longer than they should have. But he was bringing the league money. Right. So they turned the blind eye. I represented John Moran. I was one of his agents when he came out.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
They're going to overlook some of John's stuff, but let him stop earning the league money and watch how fast that thing shifts.
Yeah, that was a lot. Anywhere else, he would have been.
Oh yeah, but he's really a good kid. He's really a good guy. He's just always been in a position where he's had to prove himself. Now he's proved himself, so he's beating his chest a little more than he should, opposed to being professional about it and trying to squeeze the league as much as the league is trying to squeeze him.
Well, Derrick, the athlete has to have a certain amount of confidence in order to be competitive. And a lot of times that confidence turns into, sort of arrogance, because they know their ability. They know that they're good. And you have to really feel that way in that kind of sport. And especially when you go up those different levels, you have to feel like you're the best on the court. Yep. But you just have to learn how to balance that out and make sure you have a certain amount of humility as well. And some of those guys get kind of mixed up like that.
Yeah, I think that comes from them. My opinion only. It comes from the people that's been around them, their upbringing. Like I talked about my mom. My grandmother lived in Jefferson Wilson my whole life. So I've seen a lot of things that I didn't approve of, but it was just the way we had to live. Right now, when I go to Portsmouth, I deal with both sides of my family. Both sides.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna change. Sometimes I'm places where I shouldn't be, but I ain't staying long. I'm showing my family some love, and I'm out. But my family is what made me.
Mm-hmm.
My family made me. From my sister, my brothers, my sisters, my grandmothers, both of them, from Douglas Park to Jeff Wilson to Ida Barbara, they all poured into me. So now I've always wanted to be more than my family tree. And I just don't knock on my family because we all had to play the hands we were dealt. But I didn't want to have to deal with some of the situations my mom had to deal with. Having the oven door open at 500 degrees just for the apartment to be warm. I didn't want that. But my mother did the best she could with what she had. So now I want to get more. I want my kids to do the best they can with what I have. So I don't mind giving when they deserve it. I don't mind coming to work and take the family out. I don't mind that.
And most of those players come from those humble beginnings, and that's why it's important for someone like yourself to be not only an agent but also be like their counselor or a role model or someone that they can come to. You know, you talked about the roller coaster ride you've taken the last 20, 23 or 25 years that you've been in the business. And I know there had to be some players that you work with that sort of touch your heart, the story of where they came from and where they ended up. You know, can you think of any situation like that where someone really affected you and you had a hand in really turning that kid's life around per se, or you were a part of it. You might not have been the main ingredient, but you were a part of that.
It was a kid by the name of Dontel Jefferson. Dontel, he's not a family or household name, but Dontel Jefferson was a 6'5" point guard at the University of Arkansas. Now, John Thompson, the great late John Thompson, his son, Ronnie, is a friend of mine. So Ronnie called me and said, look, I want you to represent this guy for me. He needs some help. Fresh out of Arkansas, numbers were minimal. And I got kind of upset secretly. So I'm like, man, you keep trying to give me guys that I got to work super hard for, but you got these guys coming out of Georgetown that are layups. You won't give me any of those guys, but you'll give me other guys. So anyway, I did it. So what I had to do mentally, I've always, and I thank God for this, I've always been aware, right? I've always been aware of where I stood. Like, I played basketball. I love basketball in my heart, but I knew I wasn't an NBA player. I knew I wanted to represent NBA players at that point because I knew my career wasn't going but so far. I was aware of that. When I got in the agent business, I knew that I couldn't compete against the guys that were at the highest level at that point. So what I did, I got the mid-range guys. So now with this kid, it's okay, your numbers are minimal. What we got to do first is go to the G League. It was a D League at the time. Go to the D League, see if you can move the needle. Then I can start talking to NBA teams. The kid did. And the kid coming out of Arkansas was averaging less than 3 points a game.
Wow, that sounds like my average.
But he was such a good kid. He worked his butt off. And the movement of me guiding him, he trusted me. He did so well in the G League. He was all-star in the D League at the time. He was doing so well. I got a call from Larry Brown. And Larry told me, DP, we're going to sign Dontel tomorrow. When I called Dontel, he cried so hard. I had to get off the phone with him because I was about to cry. I told him to call your mama, man. Just call your mother. But he was signed for the rest of the year with the Charlotte Bobcats. That is probably one of the most touching stories I've had because this was a kid 2-3 years before who had no idea that he would get to that point. Of course, he wanted to, but he knew what his status was. But he just worked. And with God's blessings, I was able to get him in. He didn't stay for 2 years. He stayed only for 1 year, but he touched it.
But he can say he was an NBA
He's
player.
an NBA player,
Yeah.
but he
Can't
when I
take
say
that
he
away
cried,
from him.
when I
Yeah.
say he cried, this kid cried like somebody had just took his bicycle. And I was like, man, just call your mother. And I never forget it because I was so choked up listening to how much he was screaming and crying and thanking me. And that was probably one of my best moments.
Mhm.
See, I
And
want to
Derrick,
tell Colonel, just pull your camera up because it looks like your head is just sitting on the table.
Oh yeah.
but Derrick, there have been
There you
times,
go.
there have
Yeah,
been
I was
times,
wondering, does he have a body?
Yeah.
There you go.
there
There you
have
go.
been times when you've had to navigate between the parents and the player.
Yeah.
And sometimes that had conflict there. Can you share with us how you navigated when you had to work when a parent is pulling one way and the player is pulling another way?
Well, it's a very uncomfortable feeling. Very uncomfortable. But with the trust of the player, kind of go to them and you can't dog their mother. You can't do it. But I just go to them and say, look, man, you got to talk to your mom. I'm afraid she's going to fire me because I'm not telling her your business. I need you to take care of that. And I've been blessed in situations where the player has actually told their moms, back up. He's my agent. I got him. But parents really get angry because they feel like I should be informing them of every move their child makes. I am not doing that because the kid who I work for, he can fire me. She can suggest my firing,
Right.
but she can't fire me. So now if I go against him, I'm on a chopping block. I already know it. But if I explain to him exactly what's going on and he knows what's going on, it has saved me in the past.
So in essence, it's all about communicating and communicating effectively as well as in honesty.
Yes.
And that's
but
how
you got to
you're able
have a
to navigate
relationship.
through. Yes, building that relationship.
Yep.
And as you talk about building that relationship, Derrick, I know I have seen you go to players when they were hospitalized, sitting with them doing their surgery, sitting with them through problems they're having with families and relations. I don't know many people who would actually do that. You know what I mean? I've seen you get on a plane and fly off because someone is in distress. Oftentimes, when these young folks get with some of these players, as you say, it's just a monetary thing for them, and that relationship is not there. That relationship is extremely, extremely important.
Yeah, it's all transactional. Now, Mom, you've seen me at family functions, whether it's Thanksgiving or whatever, and I gotta get away on my phone.
That's right.
It's about the relationship. I work for you. You don't work for me. But I'm always gonna be honest. I'm never gonna be outworked. And I just want to do the right things for the right reasons. That's just who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And does that mean I'm perfect? No, I'm not perfect at all. We all make mistakes. We all get in situations where emotionally we can put ourselves in a bad spot. But being a human being and understanding that mistakes are made, you just got to put the next foot forward and just thank God in advance for what's on the other side of the issue that's going on.
And Derrick, our mentor wanted to know, our mentor Richardson Harris wants to know, how are mental health challenges identified and mitigated?
Well, mental health is serious in NBA basketball. It's very serious. And I think that it's personally, I'm not a therapist at all, but I think some of that is because of the competitive nature. And we're just wired differently when you're that competitive. But we do have professional sports psychiatrists that I recommend guys to go to. Now, I can't force guys to do it, but when guys are having different situations, I'll talk to them first, and we'll have a 30-minute, hour-long conversation, however long it takes. And then I suggest sitting down with a sports psychiatrist because I think that at one time or another, we all need somebody to talk to.
Exactly.
That we can talk to and don't feel judged.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest thing. Whenever you're able to be transparent, and with transparency comes vulnerability. And I think that's the biggest thing with society right now. No one wants to be vulnerable at all.
Yeah.
But when you're able to sit down and be honest with yourself and make yourself vulnerable, you feel so much better when you walk away from the table.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? I got another thing. When you talk about honesty, and you mentioned that you used to work with John Morant, and throughout history, you had the Ivan Iversons or the Michael Vicks, et cetera, et cetera. How do you, after you developing that as you're working through the relationship as their agent, you have to go to some of the kids and say, you got to upgrade your friends, either cut them off or upgrade. You're making millions, and you got this entourage that's taking your credit card, your gold card or whatever, black card, and just killing you with it.
I will say this. If I was still representing John Morant, I don't think he would have gotten in that trouble. Now, I'll tell you how close John and I were and the family.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to Memphis, I never stayed at a hotel after the first couple of times. John, the dad, put me in their house. I had a room at their house.
Mm-hmm.
So our relationship had grown to a point where I would do things. Matter of fact, one of the most critical times of my life, when I had a nephew to pass of crib death, I was in John's house sleeping, and my sister called me, and I will always remember that. But I was the guy that would go to John straight up like, "Yo, dude, hey man, let's roll, let's move." I'm not afraid of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Allen is looked at as a scary character in NBA basketball. He's one of my favorite clients I've ever had because I wasn't afraid to tell Tony that his left foot wasn't his left foot. Bro, you got to stop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out. Let's roll. Or I go into a club. Now, I do go in with my client. Now, I go in, I survey the club. I tell the security guy, watch this group right here. Don't let nobody else back there that's not already there unless that player calls for them. Outside of that, don't let nobody else back there. So I was always that guy. A lot of agents don't want to do that. A lot of agents make it strictly transactional. Ja just fired my old partner recently. They didn't have a relationship. They didn't have one. But there are too many agents that are afraid of dealing with the real issues and a real person. Man, I'm not a gangster or anything like that, but I'm not afraid of it. We human beings. I'm not going to disrespect you, and I'm not going to allow myself to be disrespected. So at the end of the day, I'm trying to teach you how to make long money. Like, play 20 years if you want to. Put yourself in a position to be successful. That's my mindset. That's my mindset. I got enough in my family. I know if I had an issue, I can go to. I know people I can go to. But I think that's what alleviates my fear.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys need to hear the truth.
Yeah.
There's not enough people that's willing to do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You got to tell the truth. And the thing is, you're talking about 20 years, but being realistically, you're trying to get to that second and third contract.
Yes.
Which you have set up. If you work your money right, you have set generations up, generational wealth forever.
Colonel, do you know these guys? John Morant signed a 5-year, $235 million deal. Mm-hmm. $235 million.
Yep.
When he got in trouble, I've had so many front office personnel call me like, DP, if you was with him, he wouldn't have gotten in that trouble. I can't guarantee that, but I don't think he would have because I'm the one that's always real.
Right.
I mean, I'm professional when it's time, But when it's time to talk, I can do that too.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these guys can't. They just want to make money off you, and they don't really care what you do on your time.
Yeah. You speaking of big money. So like when Michael Vick got trouble with the dogs, he had just signed that $100 million contract.
Yep.
But they voided that.
Had to pay
And
what he got back. Yeah.
well,
Because
he
you
never
get
got the money. He that's why he's a working stiff
right. But they have certain clauses in
now.
the contract. Like
He
right
never
now,
got that money back.
an
Yeah.
NBA player can't ride a motorcycle. If he gets
Yeah.
hurt on a motorcycle, they can void your contract.
Yeah.
You can't get on a jet
What's the
ski.
guy from Duke? The guy who went to Duke, but he got drafted by
Yes, Jason Williams.
Chicago.
Jason Williams.
Yep. That
They
was
will.
that. That started that.
It's like Michael Vick's situation. I blame his agent sometimes too. I don't know the whole thing, but I'm telling you, now guys, don't judge me because I'm not perfect. But I would have went in that house and said, look here, man. Y'all leave Mike out of this. Whatever y'all doing it. If something goes wrong, one of y'all got to take this.
Yeah.
Because none of y'all can support him, but he can support every one of y'all.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But ain't nobody going to be real with these guys. They going to run from those guys.
Yeah.
Man, you got to be real.
Yeah.
And if you get in trouble after that, that's on you. You'll never be able to say I didn't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A little dose of reality goes a long way. And I wish I would see a 7-footer on a motorcycle. That would be a
They
sight to
try.
see.
They try it. Dennis Rodman.
They tried because they can, huh?
Yeah.
But Derek, I want to ask you, we all often talk about here on Ports and Coffee Talk the importance of knowing your history. And to me, basketball is no exception. So how many of the players, young players, come in today knowing the history or knowing that they're standing on the shoulders of some greats in the past? Because when you think about the NBA, it was about 25 years before it really caught on. Basketball fans, real fans were going to the games, but before it caught on to those other people, it was people like when Dr. J came in and they started playing above the rim. So how many of those players are aware of that? Because we had something that happened here in Portsmouth last month where they honored Dr. J. George Gervin, Dave Twazik, Charlie Scott, and Big Jim Egan's because they played with the squads, and you have to, put those people on those high pedestals because they did a lot to elevate the game. So,
Yeah.
and I think it's important. And you mentioned Bobby Dandridge. He is in the Hall of Fame, but I never thought he got the recognition for all he's done in the league. He has 2 championships. Charles Barkley doesn't have any.
But
So, do you see the players coming in now respecting that history or those players that came before them?
Ironically, most of them do. When as a society, we get caught up in saying that people aren't intelligent, right?
Especially athletes, yeah.
Especially athletes. Now, I can be considered an unintelligent guy to a mechanic. I know nothing about changing an engine I'm not knowledgeable of that. So when people say that he's not intelligent, I always fight that because he's not intelligent in your arena. But in the basketball side, I would say over 90% of them know basketball history. They can tell you the basketball rules. They can tell you everything about what they're doing. Now, if you ask them what day do they vote, some of them gonna know, some of them not gonna know. You ask them something that they don't deal with every day, they probably really won't know. So I would say over 90% of NBA players know about the history of the NBA, know how important it is to keep the fraternity alive. And they honor the guys that have come before them, and they try to fight for some of the young guys to understand what has to come behind them. I think a lot of those guys do. So when people always say, "Oh, he's not that intelligent," I'm always looking like under whose standards? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how to do open heart surgery? Do you know what vein to hold and clamps to put on? So now I can say you're not intelligent, right? Come on, don't do them like that.
Derrick, when
Yes.
we think about all the young people now who are playing ball in high school, preparing to go to college, if you had to speak to a high school basketball coach, what message would you give him to give to his students that he's working with?
Inspire your guys. Just inspire your guys to be good people, not good basketball players. Because Bobby Dandridge, I love Bobby D. He was very instrumental in my growth. Very instrumental. But I think that some of the stuff that Bobby D has not been given credit for probably was part of his attitude toward the game. And meaning attitude, Bobby D's a good person, not a bad person at all, but coming from Norfolk State, he always had to prove himself. Once again, I got to prove that I'm one of the better players. So I'm not listening to you right now because I know this. I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
When the Bullets won that game, and this is a story that I was told through college, Coach Shue was asking guys in the huddle about a play, and Elvin Hayes and those guys that were on his team were a little hesitant about taking the last shot. And Bobby D just leaned and said, "Coach, give me the GD ball."
From the corner.
From the corner. But that was his attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's been misunderstood because he always felt like he had to prove himself in that facet. But if he were embraced by a lot of NBA people, he would be more recognized than he is.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back to you, Mama, as far as saying your attitude. People need to take a page out of LeBron James's book. You never seen LeBron get in a bunch of trouble. Has he done anything wrong? Don't believe everything you read. He's not perfect. But he's always surrounding himself with the people.
Yep.
That his business stays his business.
Mm-hmm.
He does things the right way. And he's the darling of the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tough business, but everything goes hand in hand.
Do you ever run into Rick Mahorn?
All the time. I talked to Rick last week.
Is he still tough?
He still talks a lot of trash.
One of the bad boys?
Still talk a lot of trash. You know, Rick's name is Derrick. So his name is Derrick Mahorn. So I tease him all the time about having my name. But he'll cuss me out after 45 seconds of me being on the phone. He'll cuss me out for 3 minutes. Easy.
Mm-hmm.
But he's always been a great guy, a great friend, and a good mentor.
Yeah, I mentioned him because we had some great players come out of the CIAA schools. Of course, Ben Wallace and Charles Oakley, you know where they came from.
Yeah, some school.
Some school.
Up there in Richmond. Yeah.
Some
Yeah,
school
some
up in
schools up
Richmond.
there. Now, one of the best players you guys have ever had was AJ English.
Yes.
He's one of the best players you guys
Yeah.
ever
A lot
had.
of people don't know that name, but yeah, he was, yeah.
He's
on
a
the
bad
high
boy.
school court, junior high school court, college court, he's the best player I've ever played against. Ever.
If he had
Best player.
lasted a little longer in the league, everybody would have known who he was.
Yeah, I think so. But once
He
again,
made some decisions that he probably would have needed you to advise him. He made some bad decisions that sort of shortened his career.
yes. But we go back to the attitude situation.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a guy right now from Portsmouth. I'll say this publicly. I've never said this publicly. I dropped the ball on. I literally dropped the ball on. But he has figured it out. And he's doing a hell of a job right now. And that's Dorian Finney-Smith.
Yes, he
Right.
is.
Dodo,
Yes, he is.
we're very close. I don't represent him, but we're very close. He knows if he needs me for anything, and I always help him. Been knowing his mother since I moved to Portsmouth. But I never, when his senior year, when he was playing, I was recruiting a kid by the name of Jordan McCray. And I just didn't want to recruit both of them at the time. So I dropped the ball on Dodo, but That's my guy.
And that goes back to that strong family support as well.
Yep.
And the family is still there.
And Des, his mother, she's not going for the attitude.
Right,
Exactly.
She's not going for that.
She does not play. Desi does not play at all. At all.
But that helps him in the NBA, because even when he doesn't get minutes, he's angry on the inside, but he stays professional.
He stays professional.
It's gonna keep him a job.
That's right.
It's just gonna keep him a job.
right. Okay, we coming to the end. So this is the point where the hosts give their last statements. And Derrick, I'll let you have the last statement on the show tonight. But whatever host that wants to start, we lost the Colonel.
Lost the Colonel. He'll be back.
Because I know he's not shying away from a last statement.
I know he's not shying away from the last remarks.
He has to celebrate his Hampton alum there. But anyway, Leah, if you want to start.
Yes, Derrick, you know how much I love you. I don't need to say it on air. And anybody who knows our relationship, we definitely have a love relationship. Everybody's gone. Am I gone? Okay.
No, everybody's there. You just featuring you.
Okay, well, Derrick, I want to thank you, but I knew that when I asked you to come on to Portsmouth Coffee Talk, I knew we were going to engage in some positive information that could be helpful for a lot of people who are out there who feel that they would like to go into that world of basketball, either as a player or as an agent. And I knew that you would give them the information that they needed so that they can move forth in the direction in which they would like to go. And Derrick, I just always remember the times when we've had dinner at your house during the holidays, and you may have one of the players there at your house. And when my mother was living, she would always look up at those guys and ask them, "You must be at least 8 feet tall." She didn't miss a beat on asking them if they were 8 feet tall. But Derrick, I just want to thank you for the blessing that you've been. I want to thank you for being able to take the challenges that were presented before you, and you took all of those lemons that were thrown your way, and you had many lemons thrown your way by people you trusted, by people who you thought were your friends, but you did not allow those lemons to deter you from what you wanted to do. You took those lemons, you made lemonade out of it, and I just respect you so much in how you work with your players, the time that you give to them. You know, you're empathetic with them. You're there for them when they need you. And that's most important. And that's what we're servants. We're servants in this world. And you have truly proven that you are a servant to these basketball individuals who you have to work with. So I just want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to thank you. Got to come back again, because I'm sure we have many more questions we'd like to ask of you. And that's all. You're always talking about grinding. You know, I'm always grinding. I'm grinding. Well, you are grinding daily. And my grandson, my poor grandson, every word he puts out there now is, "I'm grinding." So if he's grinding to the level in which you're grinding, he has nothing but success in his pathway. So I want to say thank you so very much. And look, and Tim Mitchell just put on the page, he said, "You didn't introduce me like that when I came on your show." I'm sorry, Tim. Not a competition, Tim, I promise you. But Derrick, I want to thank you so very much. And you have been such a blessing. And I was so excited about you coming on. I got the time all mixed up, which was a terrible thing. But everyone is on now. But Derrick, once again, I want to say thank you. I love you with all my heart. And thank you so much for all that you do for my daughter and my grandkids and my family, period, as well as your own. I mean, I got to say this one thing about Derrick. Derrick is a giving. I know we got to go, Slim, but Derrick is a giving individual. He's a giving individual, and that's why God continues to bless him. If you're on the street and you're in need, Derrick is going to do something for you to help to advance you, to get you to a safe place or make sure you have food to eat. And he does it without reservation. And that's why God continues to bless you on a daily basis. And you have so many more blessings heading your way. Love you, man. And keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I just want to say thanks to all the people watching, quite a few people watching and commenting. And I encourage you, Derrick, to go back and look at some of the comments that people made. Most of them you're probably going to recognize, making the comments and having questions. We can't always get to them. And I don't want to start naming names. Did that one time and left somebody out and paid dearly for that. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate it. And Derrick, as a fellow uh, IC Norcom basketball player, I'm certainly proud of you. And I know, and that was a great foundation there as a basketball player, and as your education helped you move further on. And you probably had dreams back then of doing what you're doing now. So I'm glad you stuck to it, and against some very difficult odds, just stuck with it, and still grinding. If I can use that word, Leah.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
we
sir.
appreciate you, and give you the last word here. I think I don't.
Before he gets the last
Go
word,
ahead.
remind everyone that they can go to Coffee Talk's YouTube page, and it would be on the YouTube page for those individuals who are not on Facebook. You can go to Portsmouth Coffee Talk YouTube page, and you can view today's Portsmouth Coffee Talk. I'm sorry. Go
And if
ahead.
you watch it on the YouTube page later, make sure you share it. Make sure you share it to your friends. Information worth sharing to everybody. Derrick, I'm gonna give you the last words here before we end the show. And again, we appreciate you coming on. And you're always a greyhound. And I don't know about that pirate decision you made, but
Always.
it is what it
Always
is. It is what it is. We got to keep that competition going. But it's HBCU, so that's what
HBCU.
HBCU power. So no matter where you went. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you all, you both, including the Colonel, for having me on. I always enjoy having a conversation with my mother-in-law and Slim and Colonel. I mean, I think I really, really enjoy just kind of having the moments to express what I do, and hopefully I can help someone out there around me. But I got to thank my entire family for always being there for me. I mean, it's been a tough ride, but we've had some good days and some bad days. But at the end of the day, my heart belongs to you guys, and my mother, my sisters and brothers, my friends, my cousins. They've all made me. They've all helped make me who I am today. So at the end of the day, what I do is for them, my wife, my kids. I do everything for my family. If I can't enjoy the fruits of my labor with the people that means the most to me, I'm out here doing the wrong things. So I just want to thank everybody that's watching. But for sure, everything I do for my family. Wayne, welcome home. Chris, stay up. Fat, everybody, man. My family is more important to me than anything in this world. And I want you all to know I love you. And Mom, Slim, thank you guys for having me on. Keep grinding.
Yeah, keep grinding.
And Derrick, I don't want you to get into trouble, but you didn't mention Junie Powell.
Oh, that's my dog. He already knows what the count is. I mean, he's that's my guy. You know, the funny thing is though, the older I get, the more we relate.
The more you like him.
I don't know. That guy different. He's different.
But you know what they say about your parents, because I said that about my father. The older I got, the smarter my dad got, because when they were telling you stuff when you were young, you thought that they were full of it. But then the older you got and realized what they were telling you, the smarter they got it within your eyes.
Yes.
So that's probably the way he's looking at you now. So
and he is. But
and don't forget your daughter.
Man, listen. That nucleus I had, like I said, everything I've done has been for my family. My wife, she's been very understanding, even though she didn't understand this at the beginning of the journey that I'm on. But she's been so super supportive, and I couldn't, me being gone all the time and her holding this family down and this house down the way she has, irreplaceable. My two sons, who really don't care much about doing what I do, they have no interest in doing what I do. But my daughter, she has some interest, more than the boys have, but she's on her path.
Maybe on the legal side. Huh?
Oh my God, yeah. And she always told me, said, Daddy, when I get my law license, I'm gonna work with you. We're gonna work together. And I'm open the door for her to do that if that's what she wants to do. But it's been them, it's been my mother, it's been my sister. One of my biggest fans is my cousins that always express how proud they are, which helps give me the engine to continue to push and go. I'm just a blessed man. I'm in a blessed situation. I all the struggles I have, Slim, Ma, I deal with them, but I couldn't ask for anything else. I have great friends. I got a great support system. And the funny thing is, everybody doesn't understand and know the struggle that I go through when I go through them, but it's just all about me being competitive. I want to be great. And, you know, the people that's behind me holding me up, they're going to allow me to continue to be great.
And what you probably did today is encourage someone else to follow their dreams,
Yes.
which is important. You never know who you touch out there.
Exactly.
Don't ever quit on your dreams, and understand that your dreams aren't for everybody. You're going to have more people that don't believe in your dreams than you're going to have people that believe in them, but they're yours. They belong to you. You know, you don't lose your dreams for lack of trying. Go get it. And if anybody ever needs me for anything as far as a conversation, help, questions, I'm always open.
All right, again, and thanks everybody. This is Portsmouth Coffee Talks Evening Edition show, and please continue to support us. And remember, be aware, be informed, and more important, be involved in everything we do. Take care. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Thank you, Derrick. Thank you.